Let me see.
Hey, we are
Hey,
live.
hey, family. Hey, hey,
Awesome.
family. We are here.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. Happy Friday.
Happy
Friday,
Friday.
everybody. Yay.
Y'all look
right?
beautiful.
Sorry, y'all. My Bluetooth.
Happy Friday.
Hey.
Come here.
Right. Here we go. Now, let's start this off right.
But
Hey.
no victim song. Well,
Come
Yes.
on and do it. Come on,
I
y'all.
am a woman.
Mhm.
I am an artist.
Amen. Come on now.
And I know where my voice belongs.
Amen.
So enough does.
Mhm.
Amen.
Okay. We gotta start this off right. We
Gotta start it off right.
Yes, we gotta
We vibing. We vibing.
Sister. Yes. Welcome everybody. Happy Friday. Hope you guys are doing well. We are
Everybody's
so excited.
weekend.
Yeah.
Y'all doing good?
We hope you guys have been having a good week. We are so excited to be here with y'all.
So excited.
I'm gonna turn it down so we can get started and not be too delayed because we got a lot to do today. But that was Endangered Species by our incredible special guest this evening, the one and only Miss Dianne Reeves. We can't wait to introduce her to you. Not that she needs any introduction because y'all know who she is. But happy Friday, y'all. Welcome to the space.
Welcome to the space,
welcome.
y'all. Y'all know what it is. You know who you came for. Come in.
Yes.
It's gonna be a beautiful show.
Hey, Tawani,
Hi,
sorry.
Tawani, yes.
Hello,
Hey,
Lincoln.
Wait, someone said there's no sound coming through? Oh, no.
Oh, no.
It should be working now. Let us know. If anybody, let us know in the comments if you can't hear it.
Yeah,
Okay.
let us know because
I think it should be working, but let us know.
Yeah, let us know, y'all.
Yeah, let us know.
And then we can fix it. But how are y'all doing?
Ooh, child, we done made it through another week.
Baby! Didn't we though?
We say this every
We made it through.
We do every time.
Every week. Can we just have a week?
No.
Without the chaotic hot messness of this country right now.
Girl, once we get rid of the president, maybe sis, maybe. But
one can hope.
One can only hope.
Hi, Tania. Hi,
one
everybody.
can hope.
Dax.
One can vote.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
One can make decisions that impact the collective in a positive way. Pay attention, fam. You know?
Yes,
right.
Exactly.
Stay committed.
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
But how are y'all doing? How has the week been? How y'all feeling?
How you doing, Carrie?
I'm feeling blessed. I'm feeling blessed. No, for real. I got really excited about this outfit that I wanted to wear for a shoot. And you know, as I put it on, I felt that energy. So I've just been feeling really good all day, honestly.
The swag is on 10 right now.
It is. You know, and it looks exactly what how I thought it was gonna look. So I'm hyped. I'm feeling good. And I'm drinking that what y'all sipping on?
Oh, wait a minute now. Let me get it right, honey. Because I pulled out the Moscato tonight, honey. We need some sparkling wine. So I'm drinking my cupcake bubbly, my cupcake Moscato in honor of this celebration. So
absolutely. And what you guys, sis?
I have some sangria, okay?
Yeah. And the hair though, man.
Thank you, darling. It's growing.
Playing it, yes. It looks beautiful.
Yes, y'all. So cheers.
Salud. Cheers, y'all. Cheers. Salud.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Yes. Okay.
And Raj, my sister, my friend, I know that there are people in your life that made you the woman that you are today, you know? And so it is so beautiful to be able to share this space with y'all as we share that space with the phenomenal So I want to go ahead and pass it off to you to introduce someone who has inspired you your whole life.
Thank you, sis. Y'all, y'all gonna have to give me a minute because I'm going to read every second word of this bio because it needs to be said. And the woman that we are bringing on, her energy and her spirit and her talent and her work deserves this. So please be patient with me. But jazz singer Dianne Reeves was born on October 23rd, 1956 in Detroit, Michigan. Her father passed away when she was 2 years old, leaving her to be reared by her mother, Vada Swanson, and family members in Denver, Colorado. Her uncle, Charles Burrell, was a bassist in the Colorado Symphony who introduced her to jazz. While she was attending Denver's George Washington High School, she sang in a big band that performed at the National Association of Jazz Educators Convention, where she was discovered by her future mentor, jazz trumpeter Clark Terry. After high school, she briefly studied music at the University of Colorado before moving to LA in '76. In LA, she studied with the great vocal coach Phil Moore, and performed with Caldera's Eddie Del Barrio, jazz pianist Billy Childs, and her cousin, the one and only George Duke. In 1981, she toured internationally with Brazilian musician Sergio Mendes. Her first album, Welcome to My Love, was released in 1982. Then between 83 and 86, she toured with Harry Belafonte, who introduced her to West African and West Indian rhythms. She signed with Blue Note in 1987 and released Dianne Reeves, an album that held the #1 spot on contemporary jazz charts for 11 weeks. She also released a series of albums under the Blue Note label, including I Remember, Never Too Far, Art and Survival, Quiet After the Storm, The Grand Encounter That Day, and Bridges. And starting in 2001, she has received numerous Grammy Awards for Best Jazz Vocal Performance for her consecutive albums In the Moment, Live in Concert, for The Calling, Celebrating Sarah Vaughan, and for A Little Moonlight, which was produced by Arif Mardin. She appeared as a jazz singer in George Clooney's historical drama, Good Night and Good Luck, and recorded the soundtrack for which she received her 4th Grammy for Best Jazz Vocal in 2016. Beautiful Life was produced by Terry Lynn Carrington and released by Concord Records in 2014. And it has covers of songs by Bob Marley, Fleetwood Mac, Marvin Gaye. It includes guest artists such as Esperanza Spalding, Gregory Porter, Layla Hathaway, Robert Glasper. She received the 2015 Grammy Award for Best Jazz Vocal Performance for the album. And I gotta say, in 2013, I was able to see her and George Duke and Layla Hathaway at Carnegie Hall performing music from this album, which was just incredible. She has performed with Wynton Marsalis, the Lincoln Center Jazz Orchestra, the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. She's performed in Berlin, at Walt Disney Concert Hall, at the White House on multiple occasions, such as President Barack Obama's state dinner for the President of China, as well as the Governor's Ball. She is the recipient of honorary doctorate degrees from Berklee College of Music and from Juilliard. In 2018, the National Endowments for the Arts designated Reeves a Jazz Master, which is the highest honor the United States bestows on jazz artists. Now, as a lover and a performer of jazz music, this woman's voice and her truly authentic sound has literally woven the soundtrack of my life. I was 9 when Better Days came out, and by then we were already listening to Ella, Sarah, Betty Carter, and Miles Davis in my house. I was 21 when Bridges came out, and I literally played her version of In Your Eyes until the CD scratched and I had to buy a new one. I was 23 when The Calling came out, and hearing that album, the orchestrations, the phrasing, and seeing that fierce, bold red dress on the cover changed my life, and it inspired me to apply to Berklee 3 years later. Huffington Post calls her one of our generation's definitive jazz masters, a vocal stylist of extraordinary skill and vivacity. But we simply call her our beloved, our jazz royalty, our masterful storyteller, and our skilled architect of sound. Ladies and gentlemen, we present to you the incomparable Miss Dianne Reeves.
Yay! Thank you so much. Oh my God.
Flowers.
Wow.
All of the flowers,
Wow.
all of the love.
It's all a journey. It's all about the journey, you know.
Yes.
You don't even think about those stops along the way. You just keep doing what you're doing, you know?
Right.
Well, your work has inspired us so much, and your stops along the way have inspired many of us to spark our own careers and do our own thing. And we just appreciate you so much for being here, lady.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm glad to still be here, and I'm glad to see all this beauty that's just coming up and taking over and making things happen. So it's wonderful from this side too.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So Miss Dianne, what you sipping on?
Okay, come on now.
Okay.
Talk to the people.
I have some Class Azul tequila with a little something in it, because you really shouldn't mix it, but I just wanted to taste like electric Kool-Aid, and that's what it does. Electric limeade, you know.
Yeah,
that sounds good.
It's electric.
Is that your creation? I've never heard of that before.
No, that sounds good.
Well, you know what? They have these incredible bottles, you know, that after when you see it, you want to buy it because you can turn it into a lamp or put a candle in. I mean, it's the most incredible bottle I've ever seen. They come in different grades, but it's a really good tequila, and I'm a tequila drinker.
I love a good margarita too.
Oh yes,
tequila will get the job done.
So we have to come in person and have some tequila.
Oh
yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
So cheers to you.
Yes.
Cheers to you guys.
Cheers.
Happy Friday.
Yes. I mean, every day is Friday if
Happy
you want
Friday.
it to be.
If you want it.
Right.
I'm like, I'm dealing with the time thing, and it's like I've just stopped.
Yeah.
You know, I've stopped measuring
right.
it. You know.
That's so true.
Yeah. I think what the quarantine has made me really think about what's really important.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has been a year.
But
a highlight of this year is having you on our show. So
well, thank you.
So thank you so much.
You know, this was like, because of the COVID, and stopping everything, everybody is making a way, and that part is exciting. So you don't have to, be by yourself, because people are like, I'm not gonna be by myself. I'm gonna figure out a way that everybody can be together. And I just love all of these opportunities to get together and talk to people, and and feel comfortable, and in the comfort of your home, and you might see one of my dogs come up here or something.
Oh, I love it.
Have you my niece might come through
right? Have you enjoyed the break in your travel schedule, because you usually are gone so many months
this
year?
It didn't start out right. It was like, okay, I was on my way to the airport on the 11th of March when I got a call that it's all shut down, So all my musicians, everybody, and I'm like, okay, we're shut down. So the first thing you think is this can't last long.
Right.
But then on that same day, it was a state of emergency in Los Angeles. And I remember when I heard that, I happened to be in Safeway, and I saw all these elderly people. And I said, look, I just found out that COVID has shut down, Los Angeles, California. I said, while you are in this Safeway, get all the toilet paper and paper goods
That's so
and
true.
food you can get. They were looking at me like I was crazy. And I was like, no, it's going to be a rush on everything. It's going to be, and get some money and have it in saying I'm just like saying all of this. And they were looking at, and this one lady said, you know what? Thank you. And she went, and I saw her whole thing was, and sure enough, like, people gonna go crazy, because, and I have to say, when this thing started in the first 2 weeks, it takes a minute, like, you're like rushing, trying to make sure you can work things out. I was taking care of my musicians, and, just trying to make sure everything was really cool and everybody was cool. And then the realization hits that, damn, this could last. The whole world is shut down.
Right.
Then after that, I had bleach, and my cousin was staying here. She's a professor at Berkeley, and she works for she's actually the managing director of Terry Lynn Carrington's Institute. She has about patriarchy.
Wow. Yes, Terry Lynn.
Asia Burrell. So anyway, she came because I said, you need to come here. You can't be. And I remember in the in the latter part of March, I think I thought I had COVID at least 14 times.
Oh, right. Right. Somebody came out and you're like, wait a minute.
I was like, I gotta shut the house down.
Open my breath.
Everybody's like,
Right.
oh, shit. Then I'm like, no, I'm cool. And what it was I was taking, because I believe in zinc. I use zinc to sing with and all that. And I was taking zinc, and I didn't realize that if you take too much, it'll give you chills.
Mm-hmm. I didn't
So,
know that.
And the way I found out is because a friend of mine said, yeah, that's why elderly people don't like, like the Polydent or anything like that with zinc in it, because they get cold.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, that's what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So finally, y'all calmed down, and we had our social distancing pod in order, and it took a minute. It took a minute because I have not been this still in 35 years.
I can only imagine. I
have not been home
to rest.
Yeah.
It started. The interesting thing was, for me, I started reaching out to people, and then I realized then I had a problem because I'm so used to everything being scheduled.
Mm-hmm.
I even called my tour manager. I was like, I need an itinerary.
Right.
He laughed. But then I said, this is what it is. Let's just go with it. And I found that my hours and ways of doing things just started to change because, like I said earlier, every day was the weekend.
Yeah.
And so then, I started getting in contact with people, and that felt really good. And then there was an onslaught of lots of performances on, Zoom and all that kind of stuff. And I did that. But then, being in this space, I really began to realize I could smell the roses. And that was like really something, because now I'm smelling roses. I'm like going back and I'm looking at my life and thinking about things I didn't want to, that I hadn't done, that I put off. And I collect fabrics. I'm making stuff and, just being creative. And, and most things that had nothing to do with music. And I've just started to return to doing music, but I really stopped. I just, other than the things that like Lincoln Center wanted a performance, I did those kind of things. But in terms of like working on music and stuff, I was like, that's been my life. Who am I?
Right.
I'm hoping everyone took that journey during this time.
Yeah, because it's a part of what you do, and it can take over. And when I first started singing, I didn't sing because I sang because it felt good and because it basically saved my life.
Yeah.
And it was always something that shielded me. I use music as a shield, and I stayed behind it. It took a long time before, I realized that there was this duality going on.
Yeah.
And then, then I realized, okay, the voice is me. The instrument is what I do. That's how it comes out. But the voice is me. And in order to feed the instrument and make it do what I needed to do, I need to live. I need to have stories to tell. And be a part of all of this. So it's been, I have loved this time. I'm like ready for it to end. I want to get back, but
me too.
I'm ready to go. I'm here, And I'm in God's hands right now, and it's I'm just making the best of all my time.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Me too.
Well, we are blessed to be able to, kind of share what's going on during this moment. And there's so much happening in the world. And, when I had reached out to ask about the SIP, I was so grateful because you reminded me that the Breonna Taylor case, they were presenting on it, the DA or the GA, the AG, excuse me, the Attorney General was talking about the charges. And so, Mo, I know that you had some stuff to kind of talk about what's going on in this Wild ass world right now.
Right.
I do. So we're gonna start with the ratchet, and then we're gonna end on a positive note.
Please excuse us, Miss Dianne. I'm gonna try to keep us
you
together.
Ready, Dianne? Are you ready? Oh no, there is much to discuss.
I understand. It's so much stuff.
It's a lot of ratchetness.
Yeah.
So, I did want to just briefly talk about this case of Jonathan Price. I don't know if everybody who's watching had heard about, another Black male has been murdered by the police. And so folks, have been just, another hashtag and all these things. But there's a little twist. So obviously, it sucks that this brother died. But on his Facebook, he was basically a self-hating Black man who said he had an addiction to white women and said that racism did not exist. And that no cop has ever pulled him over. He's never experienced racial profiling. And this man lost his life because he started to break up a fight. And the cop tased him. He started convulsing. And they shot him and killed him. And so, obviously on the one end, it's like, okay, another Black man died. This sucks. Like, oh man. But on this other side, it's like you find out that he's, probably supporting Trump and racism doesn't exist. And I just wanted to know what you guys thought about that.
Man, I have opinions, if I may.
Go ahead, girl.
I have opinions. It's heartbreaking, honestly. I especially because I feel like I've really been able to dive into what's going on locally for so long, or for much more than I have for so long, and understanding and seeing people like there's council members, right, that didn't even want to change the name of Stapleton. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because I've never experienced racism out here, and I'm like, brother, the work that needs to be done is for you too. As much as you don't even want to recognize it, it's for you too. And it breaks my heart, man, that he didn't get to realize that and understand who he should be fighting with and for. You know what I mean, man? Like, they don't love you. They feel that. I'm just letting you know. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, I apologize. But no, I don't apologize. But what I'm saying is, the people that are in these positions that can actually change that are doing those things too. And it's frustrating to like hear these stories, and I hope they're paying attention to this. I really hope y'all are listening, because you're not exempt from white supremacy, man. But that's it. That's all I got.
Period.
Candace Owens and all the, it's like y'all are hurting Black people with rhetoric, and y'all don't realize that white people are like, ooh, they love you so much because you talk bad about your own race, and that's what they want. They want you to feed that. So I just, of course, you first hear the story and you're like, oh my God. And then, I'm sorry, y'all, but I was like, okay.
Right.
Who's going to march for this brother?
Right.
Who's going to march for this brother after he didn't, talking trash about Black
I mean, we still are.
They should march for him. They should.
They should. Okay.
I really, really think so. Because, I mean, the reality is sometimes fear can make you delusional. And I, whatever the, if it was self-hatred, if it was so much fear that maybe if I, go along, I can get along, or whatever the mindset or the thought behind any of it is. But at the end of the day, it just shows you, it doesn't matter if you vote for Trump. If you're Black, it doesn't matter how rich you are. It doesn't matter. This shit is almost. This stuff is almost. It's almost like the COVID. This racism does not care.
Right.
And it will even take its own down if they're too much in the trenches with the thing that it hates. So I feel bad for him. I feel bad for his mother. And whatever, he thought, he was, here he is, and this man sees him as somebody that is an enemy. No matter what he said, he didn't even have a chance to say, I'm a MAGA wearer or whatever, he didn't even have a chance to do any of that. He was Black. And it's sad because he got tased first. So his life, so he had a chance to think, damn, I was, and I'm sorry that he had to deal with that at the last moments of his life. I still have compassion. He's still, because we got him in our family,
Right,
they're everywhere, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. You can't escape this, and whether whatever your preference is, white women or whatever it is, reality is you were in denial about racism. You didn't want to see it, and it's really sad because you were not prepared to save yourself.
Yeah, that part.
I mean, he could come to the cookout, but I ain't saving a plate for him. You know what I mean? Like,
He make his own plate.
You know what I mean? Like, I definitely
agree 100%.
Yeah, and I think also, I'm with you, Neek. The way my petty setup is hard. Like, for if something happened to Candace Owens, God forgive me, it would be hard. She would still be a part of the community, but it would be hard. Right. But I do think we do have to fight for him also, because it seems like the officer was fired, but it doesn't necessarily seem like he's been charged yet. Charged for murder specifically. You know what I mean? All of that stuff. So he was in the community, but yeah.
And even fight beyond the carceral system. I'm sorry, Dianne.
And so all those people that are like Trump or, like Candace and all of them, they need to be looking to the right and to the left.
100%.
This needs to be a wake up call.
They don't love you.
Right.
They don't love you.
Don't.
They really don't.
They will turn on you in 2
I'm trying to save your life, but if y'all don't want to listen, man.
I don't know if y'all saw what Dak said, but Dak said, I think people need to definitely continue to talk about his perspective before he was killed. We just need to continue to make our community aware that none of us are exempt. It is sad, because hopefully it can be an eye-opening moment for people who are unaware. Yes, all of y'all who think it's just about the money and you can keep supporting these governments and organizations that don't love you, that vote against you all the time. Your bottom line still affects other people in your family. Even if you're doing well, somebody in your family is hurting by these policies, by going to jail, all of that.
Human beings are suffering. Right.
Wow.
So
there's no excuse. Absolutely. And yeah, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was just saying that, and honestly, I was saying honestly, growing up the way I did, and not seeing certain things because of a lens that like I accepted. Like I'm full accountability. I accepted the lens that I was given as a child, growing up in the church, being told that I can do only certain things, be only a certain person, and it's like I would hope that like some of the change the growth, the change that has occurred in my life, right? That people would be able to see, because I'm gonna keep it real. Like I was taught that if something was done wrong to you, you deserved it. Right? That there was this big bad God up there that was telling you, that was saying you did something to bring this upon yourself. And in a different way, I believed in a carceral system. I believed in a punitive system. But I also was like, I also was taught that we should feel guilty and unworthy, all those things. Anyway. And so I'm saying, if we march, we got to march for each other all day, every day. And we have to practice restorative justice in these spaces, right? And recognize, like, fam, if this is you, like I said, pay attention. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because we have much healing to do and much work to do. We ain't got no time for you to be, not seeing what's going on in front of your own eyes here, man. So that's all I have to say.
No, you're good. No. May he rest in peace. And
rest in peace.
And may this be a lesson.
May he rest in peace and awareness.
Right. Wake up. In the next one, what I'm saying is, hello.
Exactly.
Right. Yes.
So
I have a question. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No. Go ahead. I was gonna do the question of the day. I went too far.
No, do the question of the day.
Oh, okay. So, y'all ready for the question of the day?
Oh, wait. Oh,
no, but go ahead.
no, right?
No.
It's gonna be dope. It's gonna be dope. I think it's gonna be really cool.
They always get good ones.
So, fam, if you could do a versus battle with somebody, who would you want to do it with?
That's
I told you.
You always come with the question, sis.
I don't know. Who would you
take a minute? Take a minute.
Go ahead, Ms. Dianne.
I would probably do it with somebody that is part of my generation. And so it'd probably be Dee Dee Bridgewater, because I love her and we'd have so much fun.
Yeah.
And you know, it would end up being something more than just music. So it would be nice. I would like that. Yeah.
That would be dope too. We should
That's
make
a good one. Because I enjoyed Patty and Miss Gladys Knight.
Yeah.
I did too.
That was so wonderful.
I love me some Patty, man, and they need to get it together. I loved her anyway. Don't mess with my Patty. Anyway, I would say Joe Foke, honestly. You know, like
that would be nice. Yeah,
I love her so much. So that, and I think we would have fun. I think we would kiki and act up and have fun. So yeah.
I don't have one yet. Go ahead, Carrie.
No, nobody yet.
Another violinist. Okay.
No, I'm sure. So I kind of like dabble in the middle of the poetry and the rap space, but honestly, Bobby LaFebre is my guy. So I'm gonna go with poetry. He's the Colorado poet laureate. Yeah. That's my dude. Ooh. So I
just knew you were gonna say Lauryn Hill.
What'd you say?
I just knew you were gonna say Lauryn Hill or somebody. So
nah, man. Listen, I love this dude so much. He has this piece that I actually plan on. I want to tattoo it on my body. Like, this guy is brilliant. He's powerful. He should be heard for the rest of forever, man. So big ups to him. That's it.
Cool. Yeah. Because they either have two women or two men. So that even opens it up even
That'd be
better.
cool, right?
Yeah.
Hit up, Bobby.
There you go.
I think for me, it would have to be my friend Juliette Jones.
I knew it.
Yeah, I knew it. I had a feeling.
She's a master string arranger. She's she's so dope. And I think it would just be so dope for us to just collaborate in that space. Shout out to Juliette. Love you, sis.
Y'all would be fierce too. That would be a dope. I could see that.
Because we're different, but we also just, we have the same energy, but we just pull it out in a different way. But I would love to rock with my sis.
Yes.
So who about to do a local versus then? Who's listening?
What's going on, Carrie? Come on, you don't want to talk about it.
I understood. I need help though.
I know, right? We got you, Sid. We will be the support.
All right, bet.
That's
beautiful.
Awesome. Okay, so are we doing updates with Neek, or where are we doing Carrie's part?
I'm just going to say two last little things. I want to shout out.
There's one.
Oh, hey.
Look at the camera.
What's your dog's name?
This is Rudy. He's 15. He's been with me. And he's a Papillon. I have another one. His name is Sammy. Actually, his name is Rudy Ray Moore.
Rudy Ray Moore. Okay.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Hi, Rudy.
Yeah, he's here. He's like laying down. Yeah.
Yeah, just chilling with mama.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say two things. I wanted to shout out some dope Black women this week before we get into this interview with the lovely Dianne Reeves. First thing, because y'all know we love the babies on the SIB. We have to shout out Kelly Rowland she's pregnant with baby number 2.
Yay!
She surprised everybody by doing a cover for Women's Health, looking absolutely gorgeous. So, I love me some Kelly Rowland. Congratulations to you, sis. We hope you have a beautiful pregnancy and a healthy baby.
Yeah.
And the last thing, Miss Taraji P. Henson landed a deal with Facebook for a show on mental health. I am wonderful. It's kind of, I think, similar to like how Jada and her mom do Red Table Talk. So it's going to be through the Facebook space, and she's going to be talking about the disparities of mental health in the Black community and having on guests. And I am just so excited for her. And I think it's really dope because
that's excellent.
About mental health with Black women and Black folks in general. So salute to those sisters in power for the week. And
shout out.
Yes. And I want to try Taraji's hairline too, because doesn't she have a hair products? Oh no. Oh, okay. We'll talk about that later. Okay, never mind. Anyway, Dianne is always my natural hair guru. Right, that's when you take a sip. Okay.
We didn't hear it.
I wanted to love it. I'm happy for her, but I wanted to love it.
But not okay.
But girl, go buy it. Go support us at Target.
Okay. Go ahead, Carrie. Move right along.
Oh no, we are moving right on into just kind of getting to know a bit more about Dianne. So I'm kicking it off to you, sis, and just gonna
awesome
talk about some things.
This is the perfect time. And Miss Dianne, you don't even know how much we prepared for this. We had a whole format for this show.
My gosh. Okay.
But I would love to get into I'm just so grateful to be able to ask you these questions. Let's start off by just hearing a little bit about your journey. I wanted to know, how did you feel being the only girl in a room full of jazz men? Because growing up with your uncle Charles Burrell and, even working with Miss Clark Terry and George Duke, like, how did you find your voice in that space? Because you've been improvising for a long time. How did it feel being the girl in those spaces?
Well, the biggest thing is I come from a family of amazingly wonderful, strong women, who know if they want to do something, they don't take no for an answer. If you don't give it, they will create it, So they were improvisers in a whole different kind of way. But I remember when I was in high school at George Washington, and I was like, anything that had anything to do with music, except musical theater, I wasn't a part of that. But anything else, the choirs, the small choirs, all of that kind of stuff, I wanted to be a part of. And at that time, we're talking about 1974 and 75, they were starting to introduce jazz into the schools through clinics, and there were jazz educators that were coming in, taking over bands. And so you would have the orchestra, you'd have the marching band, and then you also had a jazz band. So that was a big thing. And that came with, the National Association of Jazz Educators that kind of started that. And, but, it was all about building the voices of young men. And I remember there was this teacher. And I would go into the jazz room and say, look, I can sing, and I would like to sing with jazz band. And he was like, no, we don't have singers in this band, And so it's really obvious that, how he viewed me, and not even listening to see if I had potential or ability or anything, just totally dismissed me because of my gender. But I had friends, always it's the friends that who were in the band. A couple of them were in the trumpet section. So I would just go and sit in the trumpet section, and and just sit with them, and look at their parts and read their parts with them. And finally, I was there so much that some of the members were like, you should hear her. She can sing, So then he said, well, I have this one blues, it's called Wrap It Up, I'll Take It. And he said, and he wasn't nice. And he said, it doesn't have words, but maybe you can write some words. I'm sure you can improvise.
Wow.
And so it was like, okay, I'll take it, no problem. Came back the next day, knew the arrangement, had it on a cassette for me, knew the arrangement, came back, sang it, and his jaw dropped. Because he saw, something. Still wasn't nice, but it was undeniable, So I was in the door, and from that moment on, things started to blossom, and I started to realize what it was going to take to to really be in this music. And but fortunately, because of people like Carmen McRae and Sarah and Ella and Betty Carter and they were all like amazing musicians and really, really strong and very clear in their the way that they performed the music. Their voices were very clear. So, and I came up at a time where all of these, with the exception of Billie Holiday, all of these women were alive. So they were my what I call living schools. So any opportunity I had to go to see them, I would, and it was through them, especially Betty Carter, that the strength of who you are and how you do what you do really, really came. I moved out to Los Angeles actually in '77, and the reason I ended up there was because of Philip Bailey, Larry Dunn, and Andrew Woolfolk, and they were they were pulling from Denver talent. Each of the band members of Earth, Wind, Fire were pulling from talent that they had come up with. I didn't know Philip coming up. I knew who he was, but I didn't know him. He was just a little older than me. And so he asked, well, we want to, because Jessica Cleaves had sung in Earth, Wind, and Fire, and they wanted to do a group that was kind of reminiscent of the first Earth, Wind, and Fire. And he asked Winston Ford and Carl Conway, did they know of a singer? And Winston was like, I know one. I know her. I loved Winston. He was something. And so Carl Caldwell called my mother, and a lot of stuff had happened. I had this little Datsun Honeybee that I had, before it was Nissan, it was Datsun, and it was for $29.99, and we were going to drive to Los Angeles, find our dreams, And so it was 3 cars. It was myself. Winston had a Super Beetle, a black Super Beetle. Julius Carey had a purple Beetle, and then Carl Caldwell rode with me. And my mother and my aunt, that morning that we left to drive, they came with 3 bags of chicken and pound cake.
Stay ready. That's right. You don't even have to pull over, okay?
Instead, it was wrapped in wax paper, and that's a little different thing. That's I love that. But anyway, we left homes from Denver to Los Angeles, and that's how I got to LA. Wow. And when I got out there, I realized that a group setting wasn't what I wanted to do, because I really was interested in jazz music. By that time, Clark was in my life, and he knew people out in Los Angeles. So the interesting thing that was happening at that time in the 70s and 80s was there was a lot of studio music going on. I mean, I literally could park my car and walk from studio to studio to do sessions. And because it was just everywhere. But the other thing that was extraordinary was that, like, you had pop groups, you had Latin groups, you had, all of this world music going on, all of these different genres of music, and it could be the same cat playing all of it in a different way.
I believe it.
So that was really, really powerful. And at that time, it was like, you can't learn, to play samba one-on-one. You got to get in there, bring your stuff, and play that. So it was like a whole other kind of expectation of your musicality, and so constantly drawing from everything. And living in Los Angeles, clubs were available, and you could go and see people working out this stuff in a club, like the Parisian Club, before they go on the road. I would see Carmen McRae and Sarah all the time, or Betty at a certain place, or Shirley Horn later. And I mean, it was just like Jimmy. It was rich.
Wow.
Herbie Hancock was living out. It still does live out there. Shorter, and of course, my cousin George is producing people, and I'm just a fly on the wall at his production. And I'm checking out, wow, you got to be able to do this, you got to be able to do that. And so it was a time where, you had to in order to survive, you had to know a lot of things. So I could work with Sergio Mendes. I could work with Caldera. You know, I had never been to any of those countries at that time, but I listened to that music and I felt it and I worked on it and I, you know, just tried to figure out a way that I could bring something with respect because, you know, that's not my culture, but at the same time, you know, it inspires me. And the music at the time, they called it fusion, but it was this hybrid of cultures coming together before world even you know anybody even said that. And so you would have like Wayne Shorter doing an album like you know Native Dancer and having Milton Nascimento on it, and you would have music like Shakti, and you just had all of these musicians doing Dizzy Gillespie in Cuba, and you know it was just Mahavishnu, Chick Corea, everybody was doing all kind of stuff. And so with all these musicians, and so it was really rich, and it was a rich environment to come in, and it was also, you know, an environment that not only did you have to improvise through the music, you had to improvise through getting to the music. You know, it was all about that. You know, it was all about improvisation on some level. You know, and so that's the thing that really, you know, fed into my life. That was my university.
Did you get a chance to spend like, because I think you've talked a little bit about Carmen McRae was pretty open with you. Did you get a chance to see them in their band leader roles and how they made life happen? And
Absolutely. Carmen was hard, you know, she's a great pianist. Sarah too, all of them. And I think Carmen I would see at the Parisian Room all the time. You know, and she was always wonderful to me. And we had a relationship for a while, you know, because we would talk and I would come and ask her questions. She was really open and, you know, and I remember one time I did the Montreux Jazz Festival in Switzerland. And they were it was like the 25th anniversary or something like that. Everybody was there. And Carmen and Dizzy Gillespie were very close friends. So they had this thing, Quincy, all kind of people were there. So they had this thing where they were putting artists together, and they asked, you know, and I had worked with Dizzy, and you know, I had done things with Carmen, you know, like on stage and stuff. And they asked, who, you know, do you want? And they both said me. And in this particular situation, it started off. Carmen looked at me, and there's a video of it. I
was just writing it down so I can look it up.
He said, I'm on stage, and they look at me, and they said, "So okay, what you want to do?" I said, "Let's do some blues." I just, you know, I just counted it off, and she started singing, you know, and then Dizzy played. And then when it came to my time, she took the mic and she didn't give it to me. She passed it to me. So both her hands were over my hand to take the mic. And I almost fell apart right then, but it was like, okay, I come from this, you know, this is what I come from. This is what I need to do. And so that was extraordinary. And then much later on, Betty Carter I was living in LA at the time, and she would perform in LA all the time. And my drummer called me, he said, "Dianne," I had never heard of her really. And so my drummer called and said, "You got to come down here and see this lady." So I got in my little Datsun Honeybee, still had it, and drove down to this place called Hop Sings in Culver City. And I had missed her first set, but when she came on to do the second set, I went into a state of shock because sometimes you see something, a glimpse of a crack of light, things that, you know, that only you can see because they are for you, and they are transformative. I mean, on a level that you don't even know how to process it. And at that time, I was very young. I was in my 20s. I didn't even know what. And here was this woman who controlled all matter of time in her band.
Absolutely.
All understanding of the story that she was telling in the way that she wanted to tell it. And was a straight up co-creator with her band. I was there for the whole weekend. I went and saw everyone at 6 nights, and I saw 11 of her 12 shows. I went every show. Every time it was different. And she had this command, and the other thing that she had a command of was just silence and space.
Yes.
And it was something that would, like it would just send you to another place. And it was such a religious experience because I wanted to do that, could never say that, but now I'm seeing it, and it's like license,
right? Permission,
it's like the permission to just be your unique and authentic self. And I didn't have those words then, but that's what she was. And I remember it was so crazy. I went to Tower Records over on Sunset, bought every record she had. I had 2 roommates at the time, and they came home and they said something's wrong with Dianne because I had bought a whole, record system. I had that only played her records, and it was sitting on a table and it had flowers. It was an altar.
Yes.
And I would sit in front of it. Homing my ass off, listening to everything that this woman would say. And she would come back a lot. And the woman that worked with her, or a wonderful woman who assisted her for many years, she used to say, that Betty would look out and say, that girl's out there. But they were my tools, and to see them process, to see them do it, how they get to where they wanted to go and how they wanted to go. And the thing about Betty that was beautiful is like Art Blakey, she was a university. Many great musicians went through her bands, and she taught them. And even my pianist, Peter Martin, he went through her band. And I've worked with several musicians that have. And it's nothing like it because she really put her stamp on how to work with vocalists and also to respect them as someone in the band. So I have never had backup bands. I've always had, I've always stood in my band.
An integration,
as a co-creator, That was a long answer.
No, that was amazing. What well, first, do you have a favorite Carmen McRae song and a favorite Betty Carter song? I'm going to move to the next one, but I have to ask.
I have a favorite Carmen McRae album that she did all of Monk.
Well, you needn't. Yes.
Yeah. And that album is really, really wonderful because there was nothing that she wouldn't tackle, And the same thing with Betty. I have to say that one of my favorite records of Betty's is Betty with Carmen. That record, That record,
Stolen Moments,
especially Sophisticated Lady, because they put a whole nother understanding in the lyric, It just shows just how just fierce they are in the way that they say the things that they say. So, love songs, all, with Betty, it was, for me, the thing was, I loved to hear her music, but I loved to see her even more. That was my favorite thing.
Yes.
And I never, and any opportunity, I never missed her. Didn't matter how.
Can you, I'll do this last one, Carrie, and then I'll take a break. Can you tell us, because I think this is such a beautiful story, can you tell us the story of you meeting Ella Fitzgerald?
Oh, here in Denver.
One of my favorite, yes.
Well, I was working. Denver used to have this club, and somebody put it up. It's called the Warehouse, and it was a really cool club because we actually had a lot of little jazz clubs around here that people worked at, and so the pianist, jazz pianist Gene Harris, came into town, and they loved him. And downstairs in the Warehouse was a smaller club called the Tool Shed. And the way it was situated was the stage was actually in the middle. And then the couches, like we think all this stuff is new. They had sofas. It was kind of like a Hugh Hefner style situation.
Come on now. Jazz? Yes, honey.
I was in high school at the time. And there used to be a jam session on the weekend. So I would go on the Sunday jam session. And the guy that owned the club said, I really like you. I want you think you could work here? And I was like, oh, I had to ask my mom, He was like, I always looked older than I was. So basically we worked it out. And my mother, my sister, my aunt, my uncle, everybody always had chaperones. So that part was really, really cool. They were there every weekend, somebody. And every night, I saw Ike and Tina Turner. I saw Les McCann. I talked about, everybody played at this club. So then the night that Ella was supposed to come, and I went upstairs and I said, look, I really got to go see her, and that's when we would take our breaks anyway, when the main act would be playing. So I would go up there. I went up there and she was swinging like nobody's business. And she was singing Beatles tunes.
Wow.
The Beatles. And it was just, it's a hot, but she was like, she had, and it was just like these changes, and it was fast, and it was really wonderful. And so afterwards, she's very gracious, and people were coming to her dressing room, and I'm standing back there looking at her, and she's like, she's telling me to stay there, but she's being gracious to all the other people. And so we got a chance to talk a little bit, but what had happened was the altitude got to her. And that happened to a few people. The altitude got to her, and she just was kind of out of it. She thought she was coming back. Her whole wardrobe was still in that room. So the next night I come to the club, it's on a weekend. They said, you're on. I was like, what do you mean I'm on? And they said, Miss Fitzgerald is not going to be able to sing because the altitude is really taking its toll. And you have to sing, and they had my uncle up there, and I was like, wait a minute, no.
Right, hold on a second.
Hold on. And when God's in the details, because you ain't got time to think. You just you can't even come up with anything.
Yeah.
Right. So I remember I went up, and they said, well, the musician's gonna play a few pieces, and then you're gonna come up. So I went back and I sat in her dressing room, and her things were still in there because I was the only dressing room. Her things were still in there. And I looked down, and she had narrow feet, but she had these periwinkle blue patent leather pumps about like this, that were just, the heel was about like that, just a pump. And they were really cute. And I looked at those shoes. I put one foot in, and the other foot did not go with my outfit. Didn't matter.
No, that's right.
It didn't matter because
it didn't matter.
I can't even tell you what I sang, because the entire time that I was on stage singing, I was looking at my shoes.
I know that's right.
I was looking, and I went back to her room, and of course put them like I had never worn them, but I stood. I actually stood in Ella's shoes.
Ella's gonna come to you in the dream and say, "No, I know you was wearing my shoes that night." That is amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I'll take a break now, but thank you so much.
Listen. Dianne, thank you. So, okay, we have a kind of a rapid fire round, right? It's kind of get to know you real quick. Okay. So it's gonna be real fun. Everybody ready?
Yes.
All right, listen. So when it comes to grits, sugar or salt?
Oh, salt.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm always going to go with salt.
But I have to add this.
You.
I don't really like them.
Oh,
understood. Okay.
But if I have to eat them, but I will eat them with cheese and shrimp. I will do that. But I'm not a big grit eater. Okay. All right. Let's go.
Okay, you ready? Warmed up. All right. Banana pudding or peach cobbler?
Peach cobbler.
All day. Yes.
But I like them
every day.
My mother used to make the banana pudding, and she's not here to do it. But I did learn how to make the peach cobbler, and I'm really good at it. I make it really good.
Okay.
All right, now we gotta have some of that peach cobbler.
So, if you had to escape, if you had to choose mountains or the beach?
The mountains.
All right.
Yeah.
Understood. Tell us some more.
Well, I enjoy the peacefulness, and especially growing up here in Colorado, you can have every season in 24 hours.
Yeah,
right.
And there's always things to see. And I grew up riding horses, so I would love that. The beach is nice, but I would prefer staying up in the mountains. I just enjoy the tranquility of it.
Yes.
Well, when the SIP goes international and we have our SIP conference out on the beach somewhere as well, you're gonna have to ride horses on the beach.
There you go. That's
Is that all right? Beautiful. All right, and I said wrap it around. Sorry. So, stilettos or flats? I think you answered this already.
I like them stilettos.
Yeah.
I'm older and I'm wearing more flats, but my heel is lower. I used to wear high heels, but now I can do a 3-inch heel and still rock with that. Yeah, I can still do that.
I can testify. I have seen her shoes in person, ladies.
Same.
They are fabulous.
Yes. So, a cocktail or wine?
Cocktail.
Okay, every day I'm here with you.
Yeah.
Ratchet TV or a book?
Well, I've watched a lot of Ratchet TV since I've been home. And it has been, an opportunity to escape all of this craziness. But I love reading books, but Ratchet TV is good.
It is.
Too.
Yes.
What Ratchet TV you watching and what are you reading?
Okay, I'm reading Cast.
Okay.
And then the Ratchet. Let's see. I don't think it gives you a lot to think about. But I am watching Lovecraft Country.
Oh yeah.
Yes, for the win.
The last thing that I watched was I watched two things. I watched The Matchmaker, which it was really Indian Matchmaker. That was ratchet. I'm sorry. It was. And then I watched I watched The Tiger King. I did all of those.
Oh, yeah. That's when I was, man.
Yeah. That helped me get through the beginning of the corona.
Yes, it did. I tried to.
And last week, you were talking about Nene, and I was like, oh God. I used to watch that show just like you, Raj, but no, I'm just tired of seeing girls acting up like that. I can't.
Exactly.
It's like, come on. Yeah. So whatever it is that Nene's doing, I left them a long time ago.
Yeah, right.
That used to be my ratchet go-to.
Right.
Yeah. It always makes me sad because I feel like you have this big platform, this beautiful platform, and this is how y'all choose to show up. Come on, there's so many other things.
Well, I will say this. Miss Portia has grown by leaps and bounds.
This is true.
So I'm like, how can you go back on that show? Because you got your father's ghost and jumped in you,
Exactly.
I'm like, I have seen her doing things, and I'm like, go girl, just go, do it.
Yeah.
It's just wonderful.
Yeah.
Show the growth that we all go down with. But if it's the same thing every season, come on.
Well, Eddie Cohen doesn't want to see growth.
That's
you know,
true.
that's not how you make
No.
That's right.
This is true.
you know.
Can I go back to a question, Carrie? Or were you going to say something else? Okay, go ahead.
I have one more
Okay.
rapid fire question.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
If you're going on a trip with your girlfriends, where exactly are y'all going?
We are going to Marrakesh, Morocco.
Please, Jesus, can I go to Morocco one day?
Yes.
That's where we're going.
Yes.
Last year, a group of us went.
Oh,
We
nice.
stayed on a property owned by this wonderful this Black woman from France. She used to be an attorney, and she brought this whole like enclosed wonderful place that has houses and gardens and pools. And when I tell you, we sauntered around in that heat like royalty. It was like,
Yes.
I know that's right.
I know that's right.
My nephew was with me, and my friend Humphrey, and another friend of mine, Simone, and my cousin, and we went on a ride on the camels, and we were just like, it was just really fabulous. So I think, and the food was good, the atmosphere was great. It was hot as hell. It didn't matter. It was plenty to see, to get. The art was amazing, and that is my thing. I'm going to take a whole lot of people back to that place. It was
gorgeous. Oh my gosh! We were talking about we wanted to go to Santorini, Greece, because we've never been there, and we wanted to see, the mountainside and everything.
Yes.
Hopefully, once the quarantine is over, we can do a fabulous trip in Greece. We'll see.
You can go from Greece to Morocco. That's not far.
Okay, so there we go. Okay, so Steffi, you're watching, so we got to add that to the trip. We're planning the trip.
And when we come back, we're going to Cuba. Okay, we're going to Cuba.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Let's go.
Yes,
yes.
My people.
Did you ever get to work with her? Did you ever get to do anything with her?
No, but I met her many times. She used to go to this place in Los Angeles. Let me think if I can. His name, I can't. Willie's, and it was a guy that made her shoes. So she wouldn't really speak a lot of English. English is just like, she just didn't.
Right.
So one day I went, because I would go to Willie's. That's where I would get my shoes and stuff taken care of. So I went up. I'm walking in there, and she's like sitting there, and I had just seen her 2 nights before at the Palladium in Los Angeles, and she was like, "Bembe Corora," and I was just like, "Oh, what's she saying?" I'm like, "Yes."
Okay, I would have.
Oh, now she's like in front of me. I'm like, and I'm walking in there by myself, and she looks at me and she starts singing Afro Blue. And
oh my God!
Wow!
I was like, I just like, I was like, well, what? And so then I was like, Miss Cruz, and I'm trying to come up with my little Spanish that I knew, and she had me sit next to her, and she told somebody to tell me that she liked my version of Afro Blue.
Oh my gosh!
She knew you.
Oh my God!
That just messed me up.
I know.
And I used to work with Tito Puente too. Yeah, I did. I toured with him too. But yeah, she was an extraordinary woman. Nobody sang like that.
Can I ask you about my favorite song of life? I need a moment with you about. Carrie, were you gonna? Okay.
Oh no, I feel like it's a good segue into that actually.
I need a moment with you about The Calling. I need a moment with you about the Sarah Vaughan album. Can we talk about Obsession? Can we talk about the process? Because I was listening to an interview where you were talking about the writing process with Billy Childs. Who wrote it? How did it come about? What was its meaning? It is literally my absolute favorite song of yours. And how did the concept even for The Calling come about?
Okay. Well, the concept is something that I always wanted to do because I always loved Sarah. And as a kid, when my uncle gave me records, her records were the ones that I gravitated towards because her broad instrument was a lot like mine. But the other thing, I could relate to it. And the other thing was that she sang with such color. I mean, she just had massive ways of approaching notes and and tone and timbre and all of that kind of stuff. And so she had this record with Clifford Brown that is my all-time favorite record of hers that she did because all of the arrangements on it were head arrangements, meaning they did them in the studio. And so it's genius. The whole record is absolutely wonderful. So I always wanted to do something for her. And of all the singers, Sarah was not the most inviting. She was really, really hard. She would see me and she would do things like, "Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dianne Reeves." And I'd be like, "Oh God." And actually the first time I met her, I didn't know who she was. The second time I saw her was with Clark. And but she had another kind of way. I won't call her hard, but she just had another kind of way about her that let you know things. And I was singing at the Wichita Jazz Festival, which used to be like this major festival, believe it or not. And I was singing and I was with Clark and opening for her. She was with Count Basie Orchestra. And I saw something really shiny sitting out in the seats, and then I realized that's Sarah, Wow. So I was like, damn, I was like singing on a clear day, and I'm singing every note I know, because I'm like, that's Sarah. I need to let her know I'm listening to her. So anyway, afterwards, she walked into the back, and all these musicians were back there, and she looked at me and she said, "Young lady, as long as I live, you will never open for me again," and then just stormed off. Oh, you was like standing there ready to cry. And you were like, "Man, that was the biggest compliment you could have ever had." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" Because that was her humor.
Right.
Okay. You that good?
I didn't. After I pulled my face up off the floor.
Right. And hurry up and let me know because I was like getting ready to bawl. Like, "Oh my God," they were like, "Oh, that was great." Oh, and ended up being a storyteller. So fast forward to this album, it was something that I always wanted to do. And I wanted to do it in a way that was really not me doing a commentary on her, but singing the songs that she did, but more than anything, what inspired me about her.
Yes.
Right. And so the song Obsession, was written by a great Brazilian composer named Dori Caymmi, who comes from a whole family of great composers. And they are like royalty, like Jobim is we hear, but in Brazil, the Caymmi family, the Jobim, all of their royalty. And his father, Dorival, I recorded, one of his songs, but one of Sarah's records that she did that I love was Brazilian Romance that Sergio Mendes, produced. And she did some of Dori's songs. And so I knew I wanted to do something, maybe not what she did, but she did do Obsession. So we took it and Dori had done this rhythmic arrangement that was just so cold-blooded that it was like, okay, just orchestrate it, and we just do it like this. So that's kind of how that happened. And this record was produced by George, arranged by Billy Childs, and then Patrick Gandy was a Black conductor, so it was like really specific. And it was a really, really difficult record to do because at the time, Billy and I spent 18 months working on how we were going to do these songs. Now, I'd have ideas, I'd play things, he would, and then, he would call me. I'd be in New York somewhere and he'd call me and play something. I was like, no, that's not going to allow me to do this. And we knew each other. We grew up together. I know him like the back of my hand and vice versa. Right. So he was like the perfect one to write but they didn't know the record company didn't know who he was. And so they were like not really, but I had already snuck them in, and I told George what I was doing and how we do this. It's going to be too late for them to. Basically, there was a lot of stuff that happened, and that's for another time. And a story about the industry, because I fought some battles in that. But anyway, we ended up doing it. We recorded that record. It was live. We recorded it in 3 days.
Oh my God.
We went back and fixed things or whatever. Mulgrew Miller, all the people were there. We had 3 days with this orchestra. Billy wrote the hell out of the arrangements.
Yes.
Fantastic. And we had 3 days, to put this record down. So we recorded that thing. And within, like, I think we had finished the record in like 10 days. We had to finish that whole record.
It's so crazy because it sounds so full. So whatever y'all did in that 10 days was magical.
Yes.
The thing was preparation. We knew what we were in there and doing. We had meetings with, with Patrick and it was really amazing because some of the string players, they would come in there and are like, I just want you to know, I'm so glad you have me, here, because I used to play with Sarah. When she used to do stuff with Michael Tilson Thomas, I was on it. When she would do live stuff, so everybody had a story. So her spirit was in that studio, and so it was like, it was such a high feeling. Everybody was flying, and then Billy had written all of these things. We had rehearsed them, so it was just a matter of going in there and putting them down.
Right.
And we did that, and I was so proud of that record. And then The Calling, that's a Milton Nascimento tune. And if you ever listen to the original, it's Nana Vasconcelos is playing this percussion, and basically it represents, like, no matter how frantic, no matter what your circumstances, no matter where you come from, you will always hear the call. And so that's what that was, what it was called. That's why I called it The Calling.
Wow. I mean, that album literally changed my life, I will say. And I think too, when you do a tribute to someone like Sarah, who has done everything from small bands to large orchestra, you could hear all of that representation in all of the different songs on the album. So
yeah, because she was so free, and the thing was everything was written from the rhythm section up. On purpose, because I needed to be able to do these things without the orchestra. And so he basically orchestrated what he wrote for the rhythm section, which causes for magic, because in orchestra settings, a lot of times, everything is very linear. You can't but because these things had sections and things, we could add space. We could do this. And, like, all of that was thought out, because I love vamps. And he would always put these like beautiful pads for me to like some Phrygian stuff that I could just sail away on. And it was really, really wonderful, because we would have, it's like, okay, this night, this song is going to be the end. So we would open it up, and then, the orchestra, and no matter what, it would always work. So we actually ended up readjusting the orchestra performance. And we, it was really amazing. But really writes like that. He writes beautifully.
Yeah.
It was that record. I am very, very proud of that record. And then the dress on the front.
That dress was everything.
I have a friend his name is Charles Goldstein. I went to high school with him, junior high school and high school. And Charles, one day he called me, because I wasn't into wearing no gowns. Like a couple of years before, he said, "Dianne, I have this dress and you have to come." He works at Neiman Marcus still. And so I was like, okay. And I put that dress on. I was like, damn, you know. So I had still had, you know, no place to wear it, and it stayed packed up and away. And I remember I did this thing at the White House very early on when Clinton was in the White House, and the guy that John Williams from Star Wars, the writer of Star Wars, he happened to hear me, and he was doing a thing with the Boston Pops. And Nancy Wilson was supposed to do it, but she got sick, and he said to somebody, "Get me that girl that was at the White House."
Wow.
And that was the first time I wore that dress. And I was like, I am prepared, you know. I mean, it had stayed, you know, like locked away for at least 2 years. And then we used it on the calling. And that was,
it was absolutely gorgeous. I love it. Absolutely gorgeous. One more about, because I think now my mom is here with us since the quarantine time, and
tell her I said hello. I love your mom.
Listen, she is beyond excited about this. And she was the one who told us we have to start on time. We cannot be late tonight, and she, you know, we're so happy to hear that. But during this quarantine time, we've been spending a lot of time talking about the past and about our ancestors and all of that. And I wanted to hear a little bit from you about Better Days, because I feel like it's a song that celebrates our ancestors, the generations before us. I wanted to know, I kind of have an idea what's inspired you to write the song, but what did your mom think the first time she heard it? Because it's a song about her mom, right?
And it is also about my mom, you know, too. You know, it's interesting. My grandmother died in 1979. I was already living in Los Angeles. And at the time I was working with this songwriter. We were a team, you know, writing stuff together. And so I just remember just coming up with this thing. I was playing it, and then we started talking about what it reminded us of. So we wrote these lyrics, and it was about his mother. It was about my grandmother, about my mother. It was about all of those women that, you know, had like poured into our lives. Because it was also about his grandmother. And we just made this figure of a grandmother, you know, and it was about my grandmother too.
Yeah.
But we just put the whole story of what, you know, this grandmother means in the lives of so many, you know, and that's really how it came together. And then at the end, you know, the song allows me, like, when I do it live or whatever, I can tell stories and, you know, all, you know, my personal stories. But the interesting thing, through the years, I recorded that song twice. First time in 81, when I did my record with Palo Alto. Billy and I produced that record. And then when Bruce Lundvall of Blue Note heard it, he said, "You got to put it on your first Blue Note album." And I was like, "I already recorded." He's like, "Record it again." I was like, "Oh, okay." And so that was the one that just really, really took off. And but the interesting thing throughout the years are the stories that people have told me about, that's the record, about their, you know, their mothers, their aunts, their grandmothers, their a woman from the church, or you know, all of them that embody that whole idea of wisdom, grace, and fortitude, and, you know, just light, you know.
And I think we need now that kind of faith now more than ever, you know, to see that no matter what's going on, we will get to a better day somehow. I'll tell you.
That's right.
Yeah. And the thing is, the reality about Better Days is growth. That's all it is. You know, it's about growing, because you're always gonna come to a plateau, And when you get to that plateau, you look up and there's a mountain even higher than the one you just climbed. But the thing is, you have the knowledge, you have an understanding of yourself, of how to, you know, maneuver and try to get to that next height, you know, and you don't stop going up. So each time, you know, better days are things that just, you know, continuously happen.
I love that.
But the darkness is the journey sometimes.
That's the thing,
you
right?
know, you know, that's like trying to get to the light always. But, you know, and I love it because you read all of those things about my life. And I, you know, there are things and I'm like, wow, 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 wow. But the story that goes in between all of those things, that, you know, that to me is what really I could talk about. You could say each thing and I could tell you a whole story that you would even think, you know, should even go along with that or that happened. So I am just thankful that my better days are that I'm still here and I'm still able to be relevant.
Yes.
You are very much relevant, lady. We really adore you. We really do.
Oh, I really, you don't understand. I really appreciate all of you. You got that song Rain, and you know, my favorite thing, Monique, is rain. If you have a question, you know, what would be the thing too, if you could wish for something, I would want it to rain every day for at least an hour.
Oh,
The way that you play that is so beautiful. But all of you, you know, what you're doing with your words, with your music, with your style, with you, and you just, Raj, you just killing them pictures you putting up. I'm like,
thank you, lady.
I'm gonna tell you, we have to talk. So, because I really, I just am loving it. But you and Carrie, when you had asked me to do that luncheon and everything, it just felt so good because you guys take care of business, handle it with love and, you know, and respect. And it's a joy to just be in your company. I really, really appreciate you all. You know, I just love it. Thank you for inviting me to this.
Yes, thank you, lady.
Thank you, Dianne. And I mean, well, you know, we're gonna take you up on that offer to check that cocktail, that concoction.
I'll do cocktails. How about cocktails and cobbler?
Come on, cocktails and cobbler. Where do I show up, honey? What time?
Yes, we can do that.
Amen. Amen. And so, Mo, did you have anything that you wanted to ask me?
Yes, I did have a question for Dianne. So I saw that you just did a collaboration with bass player Michael, and I don't want to say his last name wrong.
Olatuja.
Olatuja, that's what I thought. And the song is just beautiful, and it's just the rhythm and everything. And I actually have a couple friends that are some colleagues that were playing on the strings. That were
okay.
Video, and I was like, oh, look at them.
So that record is something, but go on.
Yes, it is. He's incredible, absolutely incredible. So my question to you is, you know, you're at this point in your career where, you know, you're maybe not settling down and with touring, but you know, you're choosing who you want to collaborate with. So I would love to know that at the, you know, you're Dianne Reeves, you know, the artist. How do you choose who do you want to collaborate these days? Because I'm pretty sure you're asked by so many folks to collaborate. What makes you, you know?
I'm really open, you know, to do things because I find that every collaboration I learn more about myself, that I have some other spaces, you know.
Yes.
And I'm not really, you know, it really is, it has a lot to do with how you come more than, you know, anything. You know, I really, you know, if I really know that you are really serious and this is like something and, you know, and it's of interest to me, most of the time, you know, I want to be a part of it. And especially if I have the time to give to it. If it's something that I know that I'm not going to have the time to give, then I will just spare you. You know, because I don't want to do that to myself or you. But I'm really, really open because when he asked me to do this, then he sent all these words in Yoruba and
yes,
the Alicia Olatuja that he used to be married to, she had sung that song first. I'm like listening to her, and in Yoruba, the inflection is everything. So, I'm like in the studio, he's like, no, it's this. And I'm like, okay. But I'm loving it because I'm learning something.
Right.
Yeah.
And and to this day, I can't tell you at the beginning of the song where one is. I just can't tell you. I don't.
Wow.
I cannot even begin. I just like feel it go right there.
Right.
Because this is, and it's extraordinary. His work is great, but I'm open. I'm always open to hear and be a part of, and see what I can contribute. So
I love it.
I'm pretty easy when it comes to that.
Love it. Well, it's a beautiful song. And honey, when I was listening to it for the first time, I'm like, her rhythm is impeccable. So it's funny that
once you get on it and ride with it, it was getting on. Like, is that the
right?
And I was like, dude, this is like, I can't even. What?
Right. Where am I at?
He was like, he would count me in, and I would just like, okay,
Right.
But if I had to do it myself, I was like, dude, that's not gonna happen. But it would. Eventually I got it, but it was funny working with it. But there's something I want to say as an artist. There's really something that happens when you're the most vulnerable, and when you don't know anything, you don't think and you got to dig deep and make things happen. And those are the time. That's what I long for. I love those places because then you survive, but then you realize, dang, you had it in you. What stopped you? Whatever, you just had to go on and do it. So, one of the things I'm actually going to be doing artist in residence next week for Berkeley. And and I'm excited about it, because we're doing some really, really interesting things. And it's for Terry's Institute and Danilo Perez's Institute Global Jazz.
Yes, Danilo.
So it's jazz without patriarchy. And so they're coming together, and it's a whole week. And I'm excited about what I'm gonna learn.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm jealous of my Berkeley people. I would go to Boston in a heartbeat.
It's all gonna be, it's all gonna be in the comfort of my, of where I am now.
Amazing.
It's all, Zoom and stuff like that. But, it'll give me an opportunity. It's different when you're not in a room with people to really feel them or whatever. But I think it's going to translate beautifully, and I'm looking forward to the experience.
I love that.
Okay, now I'm gonna call it out. Who are some of your favorite professors at Berkeley? I know you have some friends, I'm sure.
Well, I don't know a lot of everybody, but of course, Tia Fuller is, like I love her, and of course Terry Lynn. But I don't really know a lot of the staff now.
Okay.
But I remember when Luciana Sosa was there, and she was pretty amazing. And so I know people who used to be there, but I don't really know a lot of the staff now. Okay. Danilo, of course, he's right. Ooh, he's phenomenal.
He is.
Yeah, he is. So when were you? Who was there when you were there?
2006. Donna McElroy, Gabrielle Goodman.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, and Donna was my favorite. Donna is who I studied with. I absolutely love her. Yeah.
Good. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
okay.
All right, Dianne. Before. No. I wanted to ask. We mentioned it earlier, right? There's so much going on in the world right now. It's really hard for me. I'm not gonna lie to stay grounded sometimes. It was interesting. You were talking earlier about this being a really amazing opportunity for you to rest. And I noticed for me, I'm starting to get into like my music and my vibe now, and I've really been excited about all of that. But this is bringing different things for different people. How do you find refuge in what is going on right now? What do you go to, and what keeps you grounded?
The biggest thing is what I choose to entertain. And the thing is, one of the things I don't entertain nonsense. Don't come calling me about nonsense. I don't entertain a lot of news. If I do entertain silence, and I do you know, try to, you know, now that I have the time to work on the ideas and things that, you know, of things that I wanted to do, you know, I find myself being creative in all these really unique ways. Back to listening to music again, which has really been nice. And I think the thing that has helped me is that I can really define the space that I live in. And I can also be in control of what comes in and out of this space. And so this is my refuge place. I know what's going on. I stay aware. I want to know. I contribute to different organizations and things with my voice, with my time, with what have you. But the biggest thing is that my space be a place of refuge, because when I walk out of the door, even when I go to the grocery store, I got to get all, ready and, guarded up and masked up and stuff like that. And I go in there, do what I need to do, and come home. I've realized who my pod is, which is really important. So my sister and have a couple of other friends, and we know that we kind of do the same kind of thing. So it's cool for us to come together. We're still celebrating birthdays, and happy birthday to you.
We're October babies.
That's right, October babies.
And so, all of this to say is just to use your time wisely. And also be kind to yourself, because one of the things is, don't let what love looks like, what joy and light and humanity and all of these wonderful things, what they look like. You experience them. That's how you live your life. So start there, and I would say just don't let this stuff make you break up with yourself. That's the biggest thing, because when that happens, there's a whole lot of people running around here scared, and like the QAnons and the this and that, and
it's too much.
I can't. All I can do, kindness doesn't cost anything, and I can be kind and I can be light everywhere I go. I don't know how that will always pan out, but that's what I bring with me, because I figure that's what it hopefully will attract.
That's beautiful.
If I've learned nothing else, I feel like my sister girlfriends have kept me sane during this time. They remind me to want to be better, to grow. They constantly challenge me around my health and my wellness. And you talked a lot about, I've seen you give the most gorgeous tribute to Dee Dee Bridgewater, and you've talked a lot about your friends. I wanted to know, who are your sister friends in the industry that you can go to that have held you? Like Nick and I talk a lot, Carrie and I talk a lot, we perform together, but we also are friends and we hold each other up. Who are your favorite sister girls in the industry?
Well, right. One of my little sister is Terry Lynn Carrington. I've known her since she was 10 years old. My cousin and brother who has left this earth, he was everything. George was like the person that I went to for a lot of things. But as far as singers, I can talk to Dee Dee. I can talk to Cecile McLaurin Savant. There are just so, many people. We try to, still stay connected and love on each other and see about each other in some sort of way. But my closest group of friends, they're not in the industry. And they're, like my best friends. And we watch out for each other and try to keep each other lifted. And my sister is there for me. So I feel very fortunate, with musicians, and, we check on my guitarist, Homero Lubombo, and Terrence Blanchard, and his wife, Robin. We're always checking on each other, and it just really makes a difference that it's not about the music. It's about my love for you.
Yes, absolutely.
That's beautiful.
That's amazing.
So that's good, y'all. I can tell, because when you guys come on here every day, when you do your shows on Friday, I'm like, that's wonderful to have. That's
we need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were doing
it can get dark.
Yeah.
It sure
dark.
can.
That's
And it sure does sometimes, you know.
You'd be like, what? You know,
Right.
how did that happen? You know, it's like, okay.
Can I ask a fashion question, y'all, before we?
Yes, I wanted to ask.
Go ahead.
No, you got it.
No, well, you know, we covered the red dress a little bit, and as a curvy sister, I have to ask you this because you have always been one of like the gorgeous curvy inspirations for me, and a lot of the pieces that you wear have always looked custom, and I wanted to know who have been your favorite designers to wear on stage. Have you had experiences where, you know, maybe you've had struggles with designers for the Grammys or anything like that? Like, who are your favorite people to wear?
Well, it's interesting. I wear one person, and that is someone that allows me to collaborate with her as she designs stuff for me. Her name is Angela Dean. She's in Los Angeles, an amazing designer, Dean Zine. And for years, because I couldn't find first of all, you find something wonderful, but I sweat. I need certain kind of fabrics. I need, I need to feel a way, when I'm on stage. And that's what got me to but I have like so many fabrics I could start a store. But basically I would buy these fabrics and I'd have a idea or a dream for them. And then I would go with her and we would sit down and say, okay, I want this. And she's like, and she's the designer. She knew she's like, I put this in. Because very early on, when I used to work at the warehouse, I used to make all my clothes.
Oh,
wow. Yeah.
I used to make everything. I remember I saw mahogany. I tried to make everything.
I know that's right.
I had hats and
right.
I don't know what kind of fabric that was, but it made me feel good. But no, all of these years, Angela Dean, we have worked together and we have done amazing things together. And all because, and I, when I was listening to you talking to Stephanie Allen, I was like, yeah, because there was nothing like what I wanted to look like that were in stores, that just didn't exist. And it's like your idea of a curvy woman is to cut these like really very boring box shapes that
Totally.
are not boxes. We are curvy, embrace, and so that is something that Angela is really, really good at. She does everybody, but we have worked together for years.
Well, Stephanie, is going to love that you love Manolo, period. So that's already.
I don't have but I have walked the streets of New York in Manolo heels with no problem.
No, you can never go wrong. Never.
Right.
Go ahead, y'all.
I have one last question for you, and then whatever Carrie has. But my question for you is, what are some of the influences to your music that maybe some of your fans would be surprised about?
Well, the biggest thing that influences my music is life. Is what I see, the opportunity I get to sit and talk to people and hear their point of view and possibilities. And a lot of my songs are written for different members of my family. A lot of the songs I've written, I wrote for a certain family member. That was like my way of, saying I hear you, and and I view the stage as a sacred place. I mean, I tell people it's a playground because we come there and we are like totally open and uninhibited and so forth. But it is also a place where a connection happens, and you get lifted in a way that, at least I do, in a way that I don't really feel that often. I work towards it. But there it is like a direct connection. And so the majority of the songs are about struggles that I have, they're about, and I try to bring light on some level to people. Like, no matter how dark or deep a situation is, you can make it through. I have made it through. And so, so basically that's what it's like. That's what I talk about. Hope.
Yeah. And we feel it.
Absolutely.
Amen. Amen.
Sharing.
So,
Well, now
Dianne,
something together, which I want to do.
Listen, we would love. We would love. You don't even know.
Absolutely.
in a hot minute, just let us know
Right.
whenever. We will definitely make that happen. And we just thank you so much for your time, for your love, for your energy, and just for being everything that you are. And so, is there anything that we should tell people to start supporting right now? Any new stuff that we should be looking out for?
No, I would just tell people to support themselves.
Amen.
Come on.
Be right, do right, be right, be good to yourself. My mother would say, be good to yourself.
Yes.
These are turbulent times. We don't know how long they're gonna last. Every day is some mess, every single day. Find laughter where you can and hold on to those people that love you and that you love. Just stay lifted. That's the biggest thing that I would tell people.
Yeah.
When I have a project, I'll put it out on social media.
Oh yeah, and we'll be right there.
Exactly. We'll be right there. All right. So as we enter the night, for the evening, for the weekend, Dianne, I was wondering if you've dropped so many gems, but is there anything else that you would love to just share with the people? And the way I would like to ask you is not just through words, but if there's a song that you would like to sing, something that your spirit is telling you. I feel like songs are prayers.
Wow.
And I feel like we need some prayers right now. So if there's anything that you would like to share before we leave.
Let me see. Let's keep talking. I'm going to think about that now.
All right.
Okay.
Because I wish I had I would say, which is, about I can see clearly now. The rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way.
Come on.
All of the dark clouds that had me down, let me tell you, it's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day.
Yes.
Yes,
it is.
You have
Oh,
blessed
yeah,
us tonight. That's absolutely blessed us.
Thank you. Thank you. Blessings to you. We will be in touch very soon because we got some drinking and some peach cobbler to eat.
Yes. So we got to share our food and all kinds of good stuff. So
absolutely. Until next time, cheers.
Thank you.
I feel really good, and it's gonna be a good night. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You are definitely our week's sister in power.
Sister in power.
I have learned
it up,
so much.
y'all.
We have all learned so much from you tonight, and I am just so grateful. We are so grateful to have you on the SIP podcast. So much love to you.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. You've been getting so much love in the comments.
Yes.
We'll see y'all.
Another hour, guys, but we have to let Miss Dianne.
I know we had about 15 more questions, y'all, but we're gonna leave them to the next time.
We'll have to have her back if she, is down. But
Take care.
All right, y'all.
Beautiful.
Blessings.
Thank you so much, Ms. Chris. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.